so good to be here. I just ruined my surprise, but who cares? Before I start to talk about anything, I will actually show you the trailer for the game that I've been part of developing for the past 3 years now. My name is Nathalie. I am a UX designer and software engineer at DICE here in Stockholm. And I will briefly introduce myself afterwards and do some boring history lessons for you guys who maybe don't know what DICE is. And then we will start with the fun part, actually making games. So I don't know if the sound is actually working, because we didn't have sound right now. Does someone know? Is it working? In that case, here we go. We don't have sound. We don't have sound. I ruined it again. I would just stand up here and look stupid for a while. That's why we don't have sound. Now we do it again. It's a bug. Promise. Now let's go. We still don't have sound. So this is the game that I've been working on for almost 3 years, and it's my little baby. It feels like, I think every developer, has that little diamond in their portfolio, and Battlefield 1 is definitely my diamond. I don't think anything will actually top that one. Okay, let's start with the boring part. I will do this quickly. I will try at least. So who am I? This is me. 5 years, I think, 5 years old. I was playing Nintendo and I was playing soccer because that's pretty much the only things we could do from where I came, in Degerfors, a small town in Värmland. As I grew up, guess what I chose? I chose the gaming part. And I actually became a pro gamer. And I'm up there, somewhere on the stage. This is Paris. We played against the French teams. We had like 7,000 people just screaming against us, which was pretty awesome, actually. And somewhere along the way, I decided I wanted to win money. And that was pretty much the reason I got into competitive gaming. And we won money, a lot of money, actually. And since we was pretty much the only female team, well, not the only female team, but we were one of the few female teams with a lot of sponsors. A TV producer, heard of us, and he wanted to make a TV show. So we got a TV show that aired on MTV all over the world, which is something not everyone can say. It was really embarrassing. It's not good, but I got to travel the world, and I got to do a lot of crazy stuff. Like, I don't know. It was crazy anyway. So what do? I was just living the life at this moment, and I think this is around 2006. So what do? Well, you're supposed to stop when you're on top, right? So I got a job at a gas station. No, but I went back to school. I started working. I started to study at the university, a Master of Science in Media Technology in Norrköping. So I was doing every second week, and I was, serving hot dogs, and then I went back to school and doing all the exams. So this was 2007, and in 2012 it was time for me to do my thesis, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And all my friends, they got these really cool jobs. Someone got a job at Sony, someone ended up at Pixar, at ILM, at MPC, and they got these really cool jobs. And I was sitting there like, I have no idea what I want to do. I had no idea. So I went home. I was sitting at home for Christmas at my parents', and I got an email from a guy at DICE. And he was like, well, I saw your blog. I was like, why are you looking at my blog? But he saw my blog, and he saw that I was a former professional gamer, and that I was soon to be a software engineer. So he asked me if I didn't want to do my thesis at DICE. And I was like, DICE. I know I should probably have played Battlefield once at least. So I turned them down. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. I just don't feel I'm good enough for it. And he got really mad for some reason. He got really mad. So he emailed me back and said, well, are you sure? Because we really want you to at least try. And I was like, well, nah, I don't think so. So I said, turn it down again. And then it went a couple of weeks. And I think this was in June or something. And he emailed me a third time. And I was like, oh my God, these guys just don't give up, right? And he was saying like, okay, next Monday, we booked your tickets, you're coming to DICE. You have 1 week to do this technical test, and then we want you to present this. So next Monday, you'll come into DICE. And I was like, okay, like, well, what am I supposed to do, right? So I went up there, and I presented my work, and a couple of weeks later, another guy called, and he was like, I have no idea what you did, but they really want you to come and work for them, so you're welcome in 2 weeks if you want to. And I was like, oh my God, I mean, how am I supposed to do this? This is DICE. I mean, for me as a pro gamer and someone who's been playing games for forever, DICE was pretty much the end goal, not the thing that I was supposed to do first. But anyway, this is me doing my thesis at DICE. This is 5 years ago. Now I don't know where the time went, but this is 5 years ago. I did my thesis, and it was real-time rendering of pre-simulated particles. Sounds very fancy. And it actually ended up in Battlefield 4. So I am one of the few thesis workers that actually have something that ended up in a game from my thesis, which is it's really cool. And after 6 months, I got hired. So today I started out doing rendering stuff, and I got hired as a UX coder. I did that for about 3 years. And I got tired of just writing code. I wanted to do something visual as well. I mean, I did UX coding, but I wanted to do something a little bit more visual, and I want to be able to, tell someone what to do, not being the one being told what to do. So I became a UX designer. I switched discipline. But I'm still doing maybe 70-30 UX design and coding. So if I design a feature and no one wants to help me with it, I will just program it myself and implement it. I will script the shit out of it, and it will end up in game. So I will do the full circle if I have to, but I can still tell the coders what to do, which is really nice. That's me. I did that in more than I was thinking of. But Digital Illusions, DICE. I want you guys to, if you know this and don't cheat, I want you guys to think of a year. And if you listen to Tess' presentation, you should know this by now. So Bill Clinton got elected president, and Microsoft released Windows 3.1. Cold War is declared over, and we got the 20 krona bill. And that song is released. What year am I thinking about? Feel free to shout. You're close down here, but it's wrong. 92. We're talking about 92. This is 25 years ago. And 25 years ago, these 4 guys decided that they wanted to do games. They decided that they wanted to make awesome games, but they had no idea how or where. They all originally came from the demo scene. Any guys from the demo scene in here? A couple of you. Do you know these guys? Yeah? Well, anyway, they started a company down in the basement. And considering they were 4 guys, and this is us today, I'm standing right at the arrow. They grew from 4 to 700 plus employees over the past 25 years, which is insane. I think they're pretty happy with what they actually, got going. And we're still growing, which is the worst part. We moved to another office to fit in it, and we're not fitting in it anymore. But that's how it is. We also have a studio in LA for those who might get tired of the winter here in Sweden and the bad weather. And we have a small studio in Uppsala as well. But anyway, it all started with these guys. And they did Pinball Dreams and Pinball Illusions, and this was the big break that they were waiting for. I also think they did like a My Little Pony, but they don't really want to talk about that for some reason. But what they really got famous for was when they started developing this game, or this little game called Battlefield. And it was primarily Battlefield 1942 that changed everything, because it was the first-person shooter that introduced vehicles. So now, all of a sudden, you had an FPS game where you had both air, land, and sea combat, which was completely new. And that introduced what Battlefield is famous for today, which is the rock, paper, scissors gameplay that we have. And I think this company called EA got interested because of this. I think they saw some potential within this game. So they bought DICE in 2006, and it's just been going on from there. So we have a lot of games going, and primarily Battlefield. So we have Battlefield Bad Company, we have Battlefield 3, and we have Battlefield 4. And to mix things up, we also developed something called Mirror's Edge. 2 games from that. And we're doing Star Wars Battlefront, and we're actually releasing Battlefront 2 in just a couple of weeks, so the team is working really, really hard right now. And it's really hard to imagine that I've been working on this. I mean, I'm a girl from a really small town playing Nintendo when I was 5. And today I've been working on this game, which has over 22 million people playing it. And it's a $1 billion industry. And here I am, which is, in my head, completely insane. I love it though, but it's insane. So if I do talk about games today, it will be from a UX and UI perspective, and I will talk about Battlefield 1. So, game development. And I will show you guys another movie before I get talking about it. And I will have to ask you to not take pictures of this and absolutely not film it, because then I will probably get fired, because this is something that we don't show outside closed doors. So you'll be some of the few people actually seeing this. And this is a movie that we created to prove to our execs and leads and to everyone else that we could do this game. So you will see a little bit of concept art, and you will see a little bit of how we're collecting data from photo scanning and stuff like that. So I hope you will enjoy this. So you can just imagine what the exits and everyone said when we showed them this. They were totally mind blown, and we got an okay, go ahead, do this. So we kept going. We kept going with the development. And this is my desk. It's not always this tidy. It's a lot of coffee cups normally. A lot of screens. I have a TV as well, to the left somewhere. A lot of consoles. During Battlefield 4, they introduced the next-gen consoles, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So we had 5 platforms to develop on, which was a hassle. Today it's only 3, thank God. We're using our own game engine called Frostbite, and we're using our own in-house editor called Frosted. And when I do code, I do it in C++, and I'm using Visual Studio. So how does it work? I mean, what do I do on a normal day when I go to work? It all starts here in Stockholm. And we do morning syncs both stand-up, where we talk about what has been going good and what has been going not as good. If I have any blockers or anything, I also sync all the changes that has come in from the previous day. We have time to make some awesomeness. We do develop from time to time when we don't have a gazillion meetings, because there's always meetings going on. Have to decide stuff and reiterate on stuff and change the design so our developers is not that happy people anymore. We do a lot of playtesting. Before let's say up until a year from launch, we usually do a playtest hour a day. And you might think that is a lot, and you might think that I have the best job in the world because I get to play games every day, but this is something I do as work, not because I like playing games. And then we feedback on this. And we feedback a lot. There's always a mail thread going on every single day. And when we do ramp up and when we get closer to release, we do 2 hours playtesting every single day. So we feedback a lot on what we're actually working on. And then, like I told you, we have dice delay. So when we go home around 6 o'clock in the evening, they wake up and they do this procedure all over again. So when I get back the morning after, I will sync all their changes. So we're working around the clock every single day. And we have to, because otherwise we will never get a game out. And you might think that from what I showed you, that game development is really structured. And this is actually from our release party we had for Battlefront 1. This is Globen. They rented the entire Globen, and we had a laser fight. It was very structured. Everyone knew exactly where to go. So you might think that game development is this. It's not. It's total chaos, like this. And I'm not joking. You might think that I'm actually exaggerating this, but I'm not. Because this is what it looks like. And I'm not kidding. We shipped with this. This is Battlefield 4. Not sure if the developer who did this was dying, or if he was dead, or if he was alive or just wanted to die. This is still in there. We leave it there just so people maybe can have a smile on their face once in a while when they think life is hard. No, but seriously, this is our HUD screen root. This is everything that you see when you're in-game. This is all the widgets, and this is all the entities. And all the blobs, all the squares you see, is a widget that contains another one of these schematics. So it's the cluster of connections everywhere. Everywhere. And if you mess up, you will mess up big. So it's amazing that we actually do have games going from time to time. But this is the actual HUD. And all the previous slide is all the information and all the data. So it will tell us how much health you have, how much bullets you have left, if you're in a squad, or if you're looking at the minimap, what you see, if you have objectives. It tells us pretty much everything. And this is my team. This is the UX team responsible for it. We're actually quite a big team, considering that a development for one title, development team is around, 120, 150, depending on where we are in the development. And we're around 30 people doing only UX and UI. So it's quite big. And since we have this big teams when we're working, it comes with a lot of dependencies. So you have design. And then we have art. And they do all the fancy concept art and everything, which they're really good at, by the way. But then it goes back to design. And design changes something. And it goes back to the poor art people who has to recreate all the fancy art again. And it goes back to design again. And somewhere along the way, we get an okay. So we get started with the code and the development. And then we get started with the scripting part. And somewhere along the way, we also have audio. And we have a really good audio team. But they're super good. But they always come in quite late. Because, you can't add a weapon sound to weapon that someone hasn't scripted if the code hasn't been built for it, or if a designer hasn't decided what gun you're going to have. So they're always quite last. And They don't have that much time to fix it if something is not working in the end. And last of all, we have localization. And this is a hassle by itself. Do you know what localization is? Yeah. So you might know that it could be hard to work with. I love this picture, by the way. This is exactly what the game development is all about. It's constantly changing. Everything is changing all the time. So what was good, a computer that was good 2 years ago might be crap today. But we're still developing for computers that we thought was good 2 years ago, because we can't really do anything else. So we have a lot of challenges when it comes to this. We have to think about what kind of hardware and software we're developing for, if it's a console or a PC. And remember, I'm talking from a UX and UI perspective now, because it's very different if you play on a console or a PC. The menus and everything looks different, and the way you control your guy is also different. Is it a gamepad or a mouse? Is it a TV or a big-ass screen? Is it 720p, or is it 4K, or is it one of these really, really fancy Samsung widescreen screens? The UI have to look good, no matter the resolution, right? And it can't get cramped, and it can't get stretched out too much. And we also have, the lovely screen safe areas, which sucks. And we also have to consider if we're developing for single player or multiplayer, because it's not always that they actually uses the same backend stuff. One icon might look slightly different for the single player as it does for the multiplayer. So we have to think about this as well when we're developing. And it's not always that you do that. And since we're big teams and we're hiring all the time, new people get in that doesn't know about this. So they're like, oh yeah, I totally fixed this screen, it's awesome. And then it goes to QA, who tests the stuff and try to break it, and they do. And it comes back because, you can't blame them. They have no idea that you have to think about this. But it always comes back, something that is broken. So what you might expect to be like a structured data read, because everything is always so predictable, right? It's quite easy. It's a player ID. You want to know what state he's in, what kind of health he has. What I don't think people do realize is all of this. You have to think about all this. Is it single player, multiplayer? Is it client-side data, or is it server-side? Or, is it back-end side? Is the player in a vehicle? Is he in a revived state? Is he in a squad? What kind of a UI do we show when he's in a vehicle versus when he's in a plane? What kind of a... is it a memory card player, or is a player profile loaded? It's all of this that you have to think about. And this has to work within 2 milliseconds. That's it. It has to work, otherwise the player will notice. And we will see a lot of angry people on Reddit, and we don't want that. And also, when you do develop games, especially when considering hardware, like we were developing for next gen before you guys knew that we were actually releasing stuff like that, you can't really Google it, and you can't use Stack Overflow. So if you get stuck on something, you pray to God that someone else has done the exact same thing and that they can help you. Otherwise, it will take a long time to figure this out. But that's also, that's why we do this. It's fun to fix stuff, right? And you have to think. Problem solving is fun. Localization. We hate localization. We really do. This is one of our biggest problems, not because it's hard, per se, but for Battlefield 1, I think we translated that game into 10, 12 languages or something. And we're doing Japanese, we're doing Arabic, German, Mexican, Spanish, French, you name it. And it works as long as you're reading left to right. But then we have Arabic, right to left. So all the lists and menus and everything gets kind of screwed up. And you have to rethink, do we do a special design for that? Or can we just live with that it doesn't look as good as we want to? And like I said, localization comes in last. And when I say last, it's really hot. Really hot. And And I want you guys to kind of get a grasp on what I'm talking about. So something that this should fit into a button somewhere. Simple squad vehicle kill assist. Mexican. Fine, we can make a bigger button, right? We can do that, of course. Might get some overlapping, but we can still live with it. Because we can still line break this, right? German. This we can't line break. And this is this is not a joke. We actually, we handed over a lot of strings for them to translate, and this is what came back. Thank you. But I mean, yeah. We sent it back, and he had to redo it. He had to come up with something else. But this is what we actually got. So what it comes down to really is this is a single disk. And I mean, it's a big game. It's a big-ass game. Over 50 gigs. And the UI only gets 30 megabytes. So cute, so tiny. But this is actually a problem. And this means that we're releasing one single build that has to work for everyone that doesn't have internet. This can't be, first day patch or day 0 patch or whatever. It has to work. Because, we do ship this worldwide, and not everyone has internet. And some people buy this just to play the single player, which I don't understand, but they do. So when you're developing stuff, you really have to think about what you're doing and what you're actually submitting. Because I live by this since a few years back, that no matter the feature I'm submitting, it could be the last time I'm actually touching this. So it has to work. It can't be any, temp stuff that I can't live with actually is going to be live. And I think this is one of the best lessons that I would ask you to just bring with you from this talk. Remember that whatever you do, make sure it's good enough to actually be used. I have a perfect example of someone who thought he was doing some temp stuff. I'm not sure that you see, but it says, Ack Värmland du sköna. This is supposed to be a temp text just for this prompt. He was adding text just so we would know that it would actually work. And no one fixed it. And we shipped with this in Battlefield 3. So it's still there. We turned it into an awesome Easter egg, though. It was good. It was good. But, like I said, whatever you check in, make sure it actually works. This did work. There's been some stuff that we have to, fix. You look a little bit tired. I hope this is okay. Like I told you, we have one of the best audio teams in the world. They're winning prizes all the time. And when I go to presentations, I love to watch movies. I love to see how people work. So I will show you another movie from our audio team when they're actually recording both sounds from tanks and weapons and screams. So let's have a look at this. No, but seriously, they do win a lot of prizes for the stuff they do record, and they're super good. And I think it's really, really fun to show you guys this, because, like I said, I haven't really been able to show anyone this since it's in-house stuff. So I hope you enjoy it. So why are we doing this? Why are we building games, and why are we doing this every single day? Well, I'm not working with sound, so I can't really go in and record stuff like this. I don't do photo scanning, so I don't get to travel the world and take pretty pictures of everything that ends up in game. However, I do get to attend a lot of fairs and events, and I got to go to the world premiere of Battlefield 1. And since this was my little baby, I was super happy when I got to go. This was in London, and I think this was extra special because the community and no one really knew what this game was supposed to be about. They didn't even know the name. People thought we were doing Battlefield 5, well, since we did Battlefield 3 and 4, it would be natural to call it Battlefield 5. And no one really knew what kind of era it was supposed to be like, because everyone was doing future. So we took we did gamble a lot when we chose the World War I era. So I was sitting in the audience, and the clock was ticking down, and I had it live right in front of me, but I was sitting watching my phone on the Twitch stream, and I just saw the numbers of views just increasing, and suddenly we ended up with like 500,000 on just one stream. I didn't know where the hype came from at all. And the sad part is I actually got leaked like 5 hours before, but we managed up until 5 hours to keep this a secret. And I remember my boss, Söderlund, he was running down the corridor, he was also there, and he was like, holy shit, it's 5 hours left, this must be a record or something, because everything gets leaked all the time otherwise. And he was actually quite happy. I thought he would be really pissed, but he was happy about it. So he was super excited. And we showed the trailer that I showed you initially in the beginning, and it was quite a success, to say the least. This is from a few days ago. It's up to 55.6 million views on YouTube. And to get this into contrast, this is the official trailer of Game of Thrones, which has 38 million views. So it was quite a success, which is really awesome. And I can say I've been part of it. We ended up at the front page of IMDb, next to Game of Thrones, ironically. And we actually won, we actually made it to the Guinness World Records for 2018 for having the most liked trailer on YouTube ever. So this is pretty cool. This is really cool. So even though I don't get to do all the fancy stuff, photo scanning and everything, I get to do this, which I find really, really fun. And sometimes when I get to travel, I get to attend. We have an event called EA Play, and we also have E3, which I guess pretty much all of you know about. And sometimes when we do this, we get to meet celebs. I was completely starstruck. And he smelled so good. And I met these guys. I actually shook hands with all of them. Their bodyguards were just standing there. I couldn't take a picture with them because they were really, really, really mad when I tried. And we had Snoop Dogg there, and he was playing the game, and he was so high. He was so high, and we couldn't really do anything about that either. Whatever he wants to do, he does. But the poor guy standing next to him must have been high as well. I feel so sorry for them. It was really fun. This was really fun, and this is another part of why I got to work. I know that I might to do this. I might get to do this. This is awesome. And it's really fun to meet celebs, but it's guys like this that kind of makes my day. And this is during E3. He has no legs, he has no hands. And during E3 we had like a queue for 7 hours to play this game, and he was in the special queue though, like the fast track, so he only waited for an hour. But only an hour. And we had a big booth with 2 sections. The first section was a video for like 15 minutes that we showed. And when I saw him, I was like, doesn't he know that we're going to, he get to play afterwards? He's been in line for more than an hour. Doesn't he know? And he was watching the movie, and then he came into this other room, and I was just looking at his reaction, and he just rolled up, grabbed the controller, and, well, he finished like 10th Beth on the server. He was really, really good. And I just made these assumptions that, he can play. But games is really for everyone, and this totally proves it. And this guy made my day. Just seeing the joy in his eyes when he rolled off, it was just sparkling. He was so happy. And I try to remember that feeling that I had when I saw him whenever it gets tough at work. And when I wake up on Monday, I'm like, I don't really want to go to work. Then I try to remember this guy, because it was so heartwarming to see him. Yeah. One thing I also do when we release a game is watch a lot of reaction movies. I mean, the entire company just stopped working for a couple of hours and just sit there like updating for reaction movies. I love them. And I do have a final video to show you, and it's a reaction video. It's probably my favorite one on the entire internet. And this is when the community had been asking for a special game, a very special game, and this was the day that we were going to release it, or announce it, not release it, or announce it. And this is a fan-made trailer reaction video. I hope you enjoy this. Afterward, we will just do questions, and then I'm done. But let's do this first.
Now, before we leave, we have a bit of a surprise for all you guys out there. For many years, you've been asking for one specific thing. Well, it's time for us at DICE to deliver. Have a great show. Thank you.
I'm gonna cry. Hold on, I think it's it. I think this is it. Please. I think it is, Michael. Shut up. What? This is not it at all. No, it is. It is. It is. Yes! Yes! It is. Oh my God! Wait, this is the fucking greatest day of my life! It's happening! This is so good! Fuck! 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 Man, like, you're really wanting this to happen. Oh, in-game! They're showing in-game now. Oh, shit! I'm so happy! I'm so happy! I'm so happy! This is the greatest day of my life!
Coming when it's...
I mean, how can you not smile when you hear this? I mean, this is fantastic. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I know it's a lot of movies, but I like to watch movies, like I said, when I go to these things. So that's for you. Questions about anything?
Let's have a round of applause first.
Crystal clear.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice of you to share this. It was a good talk. I'm curious about, as a developer, I'm curious about how you differentiate between coding and scripting. What's what in a game?
Coding, usually we try to extract all the logic from code so that designers and artists can just drag connections between different blobs. We call them entities. So the coders will create a something entity.cpp, and we will make sure it ends up in Frosted as a entity for the designers and everything. Designers that want to just use. It contains all the data, so that for example, let's say an icon in game. Whatever icon. Instead of having a coder scripting it for a certain position in game, we can just extract the data and say, okay, the developer or the designer wants it 2 pixels to the right for some reason. So instead of just going to the coder and say, hey, can you do some pixel pushing, they can do it themselves. Mm-hmm. Then I will just say thank you. And if you have any questions, I'll be around for a while. Thank you so much.